My name is William Lack. I'm the owner and managing director of Prodoto Photographic Studios, and I'll be presenting to you today with my colleague Andy.
Hi, I'm Andy Holmes. I'm the account manager for the studio. Thanks for coming.
And I'd like to thank Red Marketing Place Solutions for inviting us here today and coming over to the studio and telling us a little about what they're doing and problems about this event. Thanks to everyone for coming, for attending in your busy schedule, I'm sure you've got. Just a quick bit about our studio. We are a commercial photographic studio based between Leeds and Manchester, established in 2006 by myself. We now employ 24 people, so we're obviously not the largest company here, it's not a lot bigger than us. We work regularly with clients such as Amazon, La Senza, Bon Marché, Henry Lloyd and JD Williams. So, why are we here today? We're here today to clarify and bring to the fore the importance of high quality photography from an e-commerce point of view. And how will you benefit from this? Okay, well hopefully you'll go away with a clearer understanding of what makes a good photograph and how your business can benefit from the careful investment and planning in organising lifestyle photography for your websites.
It's very important. But what do you need for website photography? I'll tell you what you don't need. You don't need this. This is a bad image. For lots of reasons. You can find out why if you don't already know later on in the presentation. You need the best possible image to have the best chance of making a sale. For example, an image like this, just absolutely one of ours, but it does represent a lot of other good points that an image needs to have. The maximum experience possible for a customer is very important. As soon as they go on the website, as I just mentioned at the beginning there, they'll make a split second to come off the website or to stay on or to buy or not to buy or to buy from somewhere else very, very quickly. So when they go on there, you've got to give them the best possible experience, whether that's a still life image, a 360 or something featuring a model or something creative. Just make sure it's the best to increase your chance of sale. There's a minimum expectation that customers will expect. If the images fail to live up to this, you lose sales to a competitor, future business, as I've already said. You cannot afford to compromise, which is a key that we'll run through quite a lot today. We'll keep mentioning that time and time again. Don't compromise and cut corners. Cutting a corner to save a little bit of your photography budget, it doesn't work. It represents a false economy. For example, don't spend thousands on your models, on your location, on your studio, but get your family friend in who did a wedding for the sister last week to do the hair and makeup. Don't cut corners because it doesn't work. As I say, it's a false economy. And make sure also that your images are fit for purpose.
So we're going to talk specifically now about still life fashion, and obviously we've mentioned this before, it's a growing market, so very appropriate to a lot of people in here.
Yeah, in the first presentation that was made quite obvious that fashion, clothing and accessories made up a huge element of the online sales growth. There are different ways in which you can have your clothing shot. Again, as we mentioned before, make sure they're appropriate to the style of the clothes or the market you're selling into or the customer you're selling to. By far and away the most popular way that we find as a studio is the invisible mannequin effect. Some clients do think that mannequins are invisible. We do have invisible mannequins, but we can't find them. This way of shooting is very popular, and it looks like an invisible person is wearing the item. It gives a good representation of the clothing. Very popular indeed. Nothing influences it. There's no other factors to influence the design of clothes. Flat Abercrombie and Fitch were the first company to, I think I'm right in saying this, to shoot and display their items in this way. The item is laid flat and then given with a little bit of natural styling and ruching to give it natural fluidity and movement.
With hard lighting, clipping lights coming onto it, it's mainly for a younger target audience.
Yes, a little bit more trendy. Well, you can shoot leaving the mannequin in. In our opinion, it's a bit of a dated style, not very popular. Some clients like their garment shot in this way, but it's not. It's a little bit out of date, but it is an option that you can consider. we're just going to talk a little bit about products and homewares. Again, it's important to consider your market. Are you selling a lifestyle? Are you selling a specific products in a specific way to a certain demographic group of people? For example, as this image shows here, this isn't too clinical. Don't make them too clinical if it's going to affect sales. This image is kind of feminine products, so the shots has been done with a nice mirrored reflection there, some flowers and feminine items in the picture. The company that we shot that for was selling primarily to a feminine market, so the images reflected that. So consider who you're selling for. I think the image is appropriate. There's a number of creative and lifestyle options open to you. For example, you can use drop shadow, you can use props done here, or reflection, different backgrounds, dramatic lighting effects, that kind of thing. All these things add to the image and they make your item product look more expensive. If the product looks more expensive, people may buy into that look. Drop shadow, for example, gives a product's natural placement. Stylish, sophisticated, elegant look can be achieved with dramatic lighting. So as touched on a moment ago, for example, Apple always shoot their products with shadow reflection. And in fact, customers, clients ring up saying, can we have it shot in an Apple style? So that's really caught on. It's successful. Yes. Well, the demand for 360 rotation photography, from our point of view, hasn't really taken off as we kind of predicted or expected. When we first started looking into offering this service, we noticed that there weren't that many services available on the internet that offered this. And those that did offered location, external location 360 or a hotel room, internal room sets, that kind of thing. But 360 photography is not as much as an aspirational way of showing your products, depending on what they are, of course. You don't get as much of a highly polished image because you can't always do all the post-production that Will's just talked about on the previous slide. There's some elements of post-production that really isn't possible when you use 360. We found that our clients ask us to use specific items, for example, outdoor wear for mountain climbers, hill walkers, etc. We've shot quite a lot of that because of the technical nature of the garments. There may be hidden zips or things around the back, features tucked away, hoods, that kind of thing, that you really need to see everything before you buy it. If you're buying it to climb Everest, it's going to be right. We also shoot, we've noticed there's quite a demand for technical products, which is laptops, sat-nav equipment, and also 360 seems to be popular for specific industries. For example, industries that manufacture high-spec technical pipework, valves, pieces of electronic machinery, this kind of thing, which also in the market they sell into, it's important for people buying it because it's so technical. It's so important that they see every aspect of that. Is there a valve around the back? Is there an outlet there? That kind of thing. However, this could soon change. Don't want to be negative about 360 at all. We mentioned today broadband download speeds are going to improve. It provides an improved customer experience. We said at the beginning, you've got to have the best possible experience with the customer when they go on, give them the best. If you've got a 360 on there, depending on who you're selling to, and you've got to ask yourself, I heard someone mention this earlier, well, does my customer want to see 360s? That's a question you've really got to ask. But it is an improved experience. The customer has control over the picture. They can spin it at their own speed. You can stop, they can start, you can turn it around in increments, etc. So they've got customer control. If the customer has this amount of control at the beginning, they've seen everything, they've had the best experience, most likely not going to return it.
Okay, so model photography. This is again, we're talking about aspiration. It's obviously more expensive, but it creates the interest in the first place, often on the holding page, the front page of the website, or in that particular section on the website.
We noticed, from our point of view, requests for model work and shoots we've done has increased this year. Whether this is a market indicator, we're not sure, but we're certainly enjoying it. Casting is very, very important. The right look for the right product, again, for the right market. Will mentioned the shoot with the chocolate earlier on. Great shoot, lovely images, shows of role models. Wasn't really the audience he was looking at. As you'll see in a moment, there's an example of a company called Promethean, a global education solutions whiteboard specialist. The head office is Blackburn in Lancashire. We do quite a lot of work with those. They really looked at who they were selling their products to very carefully. They used mixed race groups in their images, the models that they brought to the studio, they thought about it very carefully, and as a result their campaign was very, very successful. Also, make sure that fitting is thought about and right, vitally important that we represent the clothing properly. We had a shoot recently, a catalogue shoot, went on for a whole week. The planning that went into it took about a month, everything was successful. The models turned up size 8, the clothes that are coming to the studio the week before were size 10. Somewhere along the line, the range of models had kind of slipped up, so as a result, the shoot, there was a lot of pinning at the back, the shoot took longer, it was still successful, but a lot more work went into it, so always make sure that you've got the right size models for the right clothes. Don't compromise on stylists, we said at the beginning, don't cut corners. There's hair and makeup stylists, which we'll talk about in a moment, there's also stylists for the clothes. It does make a significant difference, so get them involved with the shoot earlier on. If you've got a shoot coming and it's a large project, get the stylists involved, talk to them at the beginning so that they've got a clear idea of the requirements once a shoot starts. So there's no wasted time, nobody wastes any money on reshoots or getting stylists in after the fact if you haven't thought about it. So that's very important, and always use a professional.
Okay, hair and makeup, equally as important for the same reasons as the stylist. Don't overlook it in your planning, and it also creates aspiration. So obviously if the model's well presented and the right look, it's going to cause that aspiration. Studio and location, you can obviously make your mind up on that. Just talk about room sets
Very briefly
quickly.
on room sets, yeah. Bring up a couple of images and just very quickly put them in there. You're selling a lifestyle when you've got a room set. There's different looking styles obviously that appeal to different audiences. The influence of the photograph is phenomenal. We've got a shoot here, a shot here which we're planning to go as Milliken Industrials. It gives a highly organised feel. It's very efficient, very business looking, very clinical, sharp, gives the lifestyle idea of efficiency. So it works for them, that's what they were trying to portray. A lot of attention was given to these props beforehand as well. They were sourced very carefully so when everything came together it was the image that they wanted to portray. The shot here is for Dunelm Mill. Again, it's got domestic appeal. It's very homely, it's very softer. There was a stylist used very carefully to source the product before the shoot, lay everything out nicely. It didn't cut corners, it didn't compromise, and the result was this. Very successful shoot indeed.
Just quickly moving on to food photography. This isn't relevant to many people in here, but it exemplifies what we've been talking about. We've got two different shots selling exactly the same thing.
We're okay to show this, we just had lunch, alright?
So you've got a product here, this product's called lamb in a box, where you buy basically a whole lamb chopped up in a box. And then you have but it's not a lifestyle and it's not aspirational. You're obviously selling meat again, but it's in the form of a burger. You think, oh, yummy, yeah, I'll have some of that. So the same thing, but the way that it's photographed has a massive effect on whether you buy the product or not. And another thing is, the customer thinks about it, does the post-production and cuts all the blood away from this shot.